It's that time of the year again where the Black Friday sales have crept up on us. They're here and a lot of people have bought a PSVR 2 for the first time. So if you're seeing this video and you clicked on it, most likely you're looking for some game recommendations to get you kick-started, and that is exactly what today's video is. So let's thank our patrons and members who are all on screen right now. Feel free to like and subscribe as we do PSVR 2 pretty much every day here, and let's kick things off, shall we? I'm going to split today's video into two sections. One being starter experiences that will ease you into virtual reality, and the other half being the best of the best that I personally enjoy on the headset all the time, that you'll be going back to again and again, or games that will stick with you because they're pure quality. So let's kick things off with those starter games that I mentioned. These are experiences that shouldn't make you feel too motion sick, because the main thing, an issue that you'll run into with VR if it's your first foray into the space, will be motion sickness. With that in mind, I can recommend Kayak VR Mirage. This one is a kayaking game that not only should ease you into VR a little bit, because you're just kind of sat there, unless you really thrash it about in the water, you shouldn't be able to make yourself feel too motion sick. There are a couple editions of this game with different varying levels of content. There are quite a few maps to explore now with a bunch of different routes. Races to do, but I'd say maybe wait till you get your VR legs a little bit before going on to those, and there's different varying weather. This game looks absolutely beautiful. It's one of the best looking games on the headset. Came out at launch with the PSVR 2, and I still go back to it again and again and again to this day, because it just feels very cozy to play. These environments feel very familiar to me now, and even though it's a couple of years ago, I do get a sense of nostalgia for these Kayak VR environments. I will say though, avoid Norway during the stormy conditions. That will make you feel sick if you're new to VR, most likely. Also, maybe steer clear of the Yucatan and Soca Valley DLCs for now, if you do feel like you'll be susceptible to motion sickness, because they do have downhill whitewater rapid sections. Another game in a similar vein is Subside. This is a underwater swimming and exploration game. You discover new maps by picking up collectibles around the ones you already own. Again, looks absolutely beautiful. If you've got Phasmophobia though, some of these maps will really freak you out like they did with me. It all relies on motion controls to swim around, and it's quite a slow-paced game, so you shouldn't feel too bad with this one, I don't think. A plus for this as well is that it looks amazing, just like Kayak. One of the best looking games on the headset for sure. And it's made by one person, which is crazy, and also has some more content in the works for it apparently in the future. Now this one's going to be a bit of a controversial one for some people, but I'm still going to recommend Beat Saber here. Yes, it has dropped support for PSVR 2, which is really annoying, but the game is still almost content complete. Multiplayer does not work, I don't think, or is being shut down fairly soon, and future DLC won't be coming to PSVR 2, which sucks, but it still has a load of content to get stuck into. It's really satisfying. Everybody knows Beat Saber. It's one of the easiest games to play because you just stood there slicing blocks to the beat. Despite the controversy, I'd say it definitely is still worth it. Another one where you just sit there and do a task is Puzzling Places. This looks fantastic on PSVR 2 and is a 3D puzzler game where you put together locations from around the world. It's got a ton of DLC to buy if you're into that, but the base game content is enough for you to go and play through for sure. You can choose the difficulty of your puzzle, how many pieces you want, and it's just a brilliant little game. Great sound design, ton of content, and looks fantastic after the UE5 overhaul. Now I can't talk about low locomotion games that have a ton of content without mentioning Walkabout Minigolf. One of the best games on PSVR 2 for sure, and even better for beginner players because you can just teleport around to each ball if you want. This takes you through a ton of different environments with loads of DLC, playable in multiplayer with your friends, I think on flat now as well, so you can play it on phone. This game is just charming and brilliant and really easy to get into because it just requires you to swing. That's about it. For the starter games and experiences, the last two ones I recommend are actually for a different reason, because they're not only those starter games where you don't really have to move much, but they're also hand-tracked, meaning that you can experiment with a cool feature of this headset and also don't need to charge your controllers. So if they're on charge, when you bought your headset, you can just jump in and give these ones a go without needing to actually use your sense controllers at all. The first is Maestro. This is an orchestra conducting game. Grab yourself a chopstick or a pencil and pretend you're conducting the orchestra by just using your hands. If you buy the complete edition, you'll get some Star Wars, Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings tracks. If not, then you'll be sticking with the great classical music that the game has to offer. It's such a cool feeling experience, and to boot it up and use hand tracking, just turn it on without using your sense controllers, put your hands up to your face and let it recognize the hand tracking needs to be enabled. Same goes for the second game, Waltz of the Wizard. This is a game where you mix potions and create spells with the help of Scully, who is a talkative skull friend who's with you throughout the entirety of it. It's another one that just has you standing in a room and interacting with stuff, but it genuinely is really creative, and the hand tracking here is also a fantastic showcase. Okay, so you've got any VR legs. What's next? Let's step it up to some of the best games that I think represent PSVR 2 in the most impressive light. Horizon Call of the Mountain is definitely one of these games, but if you haven't got a PSVR 2 yet, go and get one on sale for Black Friday bundled with Horizon, because it's the same price as a normal PSVR 2 without it. You might as well add in this game for free, essentially. Even still, if you've already got a PSVR 2 and don't have Horizon, it sometimes goes on sale, not very often, but it is a good starter experience because it's made to kind of ease you into VR. It still looks very impressive, has some cool set pieces, and hasn't been uninstalled from my PlayStation since I got it, because I do revisit it quite a lot just to play through certain sections, but it'll both not completely throw you off in terms of motion sickness like the previous games we've mentioned, and also looks great, plays great. It's a little restrictive compared to some other titles on this list, but still definitely worth giving a go. If there's one thing that you need to know about me as well, is that Gran Turismo 7 is one of my favourite PSVR 2 games, hence why I'm going to recommend it here. If you like racing at all, GT7 is incredible in VR, with a racing rig as well, with a full sim rig with wheel and pedals. You're going to be flying with this one. It is such an immersive experience. Even without a wheel and pedals though, it still looks amazing, plays amazing, and has so much content and gets constantly updated. We're only a couple weeks out now from the Spec 3 and Power Pack updates, adding new cars, new tracks, and new content. But if you're not sure about GT7, go and check out My First Gran Turismo on PlayStation. It's free on the PS Store. It introduces you to a couple of cars, which then, if you buy GT7, you'll get to keep from the demo. And My First GT basically eases you into the idea of the game, showing you some of the sights, the sounds, and a few little races along with some licensed tests. It's not a full representation of how Gran Turismo is, but it might just sell you on how Gran Turismo looks in VR, as it is PSVR 2 compatible. For a game with limitless content, No Man's Sky has to be recommended here. If you enjoy space, this is the game for you. Traveling an infinite universe, being able to build your own massive Corvettes with rooms you can walk around in while you're flying through space, this game does it all. Survival, combat, fleet building, fishing, exploring derelict freighters and crashed ships. No Man's Sky truly has it all as a space game, and if you sleep on this one, I'll never forgive you if you like space. So go and check it out. It goes on sale very often and is loved for a very good reason. A bit of a rogue one I'm going to throw in here is Phasmophobia. If you enjoy horror games, this one is definitely going to be for you. You might have heard of this game before because it is a flat and VR game, so if you have some friends that aren't really into VR like I do, you can jump in and play Phasmophobia with them while you're on your PSVR 2 headset and they're on normal PlayStation, PC or Xbox, which is super cool. In groups of up to 4, you head into abandoned buildings and haunted houses to discover what type of ghost is in there and try and make it out alive. With proximity chat, tons of tools to use, and some genuinely scary moments, Phasmophobia keeps you coming back with its challenge and progression. If you like horror as well, consider the 2 Resident Evil games that are currently available on PSVR 2. That is Resident Evil Village and Resident Evil 4. Both of these are fantastic. I wasn't a big Resident Evil fan before playing Resident Evil 7 on the PSVR 1, and that carried on to Resi 8 and Resi 4 over on PSVR 2, and they're both absolutely incredible to this day. Full campaigns, amazing visuals, and fantastic fun gameplay. They're talked about loads in the VR community, but they are some of the best on PSVR 2, so you shouldn't overlook them. If you want some serious horror though, Madison VR is where it's at, but just beware, this one is incredibly scary. It looks great on PSVR 2, no mirror as well, which is essentially the sort of visual noise that is created through the OLED panel that PSVR 2 has. Some games mitigate it, some games don't, and Madison is one of the ones that does very well, but it genuinely is the scariest game on PSVR 2 in my opinion. I haven't even finished it, it's that bad. I keep playing through it in an hour and a half to 2 hour increments, getting a little bit further each time. We did it for Halloween this year, and it's just horrible. Absolutely terrifying. For another game with almost infinite content, Hitman World of Assassination is basically feature complete on PSVR 2 now, and you should definitely pick it up, especially when it's on sale, and it is right now for Black Friday, so go and do that. Become Agent 47, sneak through different areas, take out targets, go guns blazing if you want to, because it's a lot easier to do that in VR when you're controlling Agent 47 yourself. With 3 full campaigns to play through, plus the elusive targets that come in every now and then, like M&M, that's the elusive target right now, and Freelancer, which is now VR compatible, Hitman World of Assassination is one of the biggest no-brainers for PSVR 2, and you should consider it if you just picked up a headset. If you're looking for a shooter-survival combination, I can recommend Into the Radius. This is very much like the Stalker flat game series. You head out into the wastes with limited supplies, try and get your missions done out there, and get back home in one piece. Some terrifying enemies in this one, some of the best weapons handling on PSVR 2, and campaign story missions that will last you probably 8 to 12 hours depending on how fast you blast through them. Into the Radius is atmospheric, and you shouldn't miss it. A VR list like this wouldn't be complete without mentioning Pavlov. This is kind of the flagship shooter for PSVR2. Pavlov is a little bit on the older side now, but it still is fantastic and still gets updates every now and then. It's crossplay with the base vanilla PC version of the game, and it still is quite populated. If you want to play some World War II TDM, some Domination, or Trouble in Terrorist Town, which is some of my favourite, Pavlov will keep you coming back again and again, and I have some very fond memories of when I first got my PSVR2 headset and put in about 50 hours into Pavlov in the first couple of weeks of having this headset. Red Matter 2 is another space game you should also consider. There is Red Matter 1 on the platform, but 2 is the most impressive, I would say, if you're going to go between one or the other. It is a sequel, but you don't need to play the original to fully understand the second one. It is a puzzler at heart, but the space visuals here are worth the price of admission. It looks crystal clear, runs 120Hz on reprojected, which means it's as smooth as it can be on PSVR2, and still blows me away when I revisit it to this day. And finally here I want to mention two games from the same company. This is Skydance, and these are two that some people may not agree with, but are games that I've revisited again and again and again, and I just want to mention them. The first is Saints and Sinners. This is the official Walking Dead game. You've probably seen gameplay of this around. There's Saints and Sinners Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. In my opinion, Chapter 1 is a more complete package. Chapter 2 kind of expands on Chapter 1 with a lot of the same reused content. But I do love them both, and they'll just give you quite a few hours of content in terms of surviving in this post-apocalyptic zombie-filled world. It's the closest thing we've kind of got to a Last of Us VR game, if that makes sense, where you're scavenging to survive, crafting items back at your home base, and it's a game where you get to kind of choose how fast you go at your own pace. The second and final for this video is Skydance's Behemoth. This came out last year, and I just love this game. If you enjoy stuff like Shadow of the Colossus, where it's you against a gigantic opposing threat, then Skydance's Behemoth is for you. You fight normal enemies as you progress throughout the campaign, but every once in a while you'll be thrown up against a massive, towering behemoth, a creature that you'll have to scale and then take down. It's got a full campaign, an arena mode which is also fantastic, and it's just a quality experience in my opinion. The combat doesn't work for absolutely everybody, but at its best I just think it's an incredible spectacle that you should consider on PSVR 2. Anyway, that'll be all for today. I know a lot of you in the comments will have different games you want to recommend, so go and check them out in the comments below. I'm sure there'll be loads there, and people justifying each and every one. These are my picks, split between the starter ones and just the best experiences that I think are on the headset. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next one.